so hot. I think it's time. Yeah. It's time for summer books. Hello everyone, it's Anna, also known as Book Anna, and today I'm going to be talking about some summer books, as you could imagine from the title. During summer, I love reading every genre under the sun. Today I have some book recommendations for you that I already read and that I feel like really gave me atmosphere of summer. And then I have some books that I have not read and I cannot tell you if they are good or not, but those are the books that I would love to read this summer. So I decided to put them here as well. The book that I when I thought about, okay, what book gave me summer vibes, was definitely Shark Heart by Emily Habeck, a book that I read this year actually. And this book follows a married couple. We have Ren and Louis. Ren works in finance and Louis is an ex-actor and he now works in a high school, like a theater teacher. Their marriage is great, they really love each other and everything seems to be fine. And then Louis gets diagnosed with a disease that makes him turn into shark in the span of 9 months. And they have to get through it. It is really heartbreaking. It is very wholesome in parts because it does show you that everything is fine. And even though the shark turning into shark part isn't really realistic, you can definitely pull some strings to some real diseases that people get. It really talks about caregiving and how she as his caregiver needs to be there for him, even if it's really hard for her, even in the times that he's not himself anymore, and she still needs to feed him and she still needs to take care of him. At some point of the book, we even find out a lot more about Ren and Ren's mother because Ren's mother went through a similar thing when she was younger. If you want a book that's a bit sad, but also is wholesome, I would definitely say give Shark Heart a go. A book that I read last summer whilst I was traveling through Italy, and that's why I picked it up. It just gives me summer vibes based on my own memories of what I did when I was reading this book, would be Sirens and Muses by Antonia Angress. This book is actually multiple POVs story. We have students and a professor that we are following. They're all working or enrolled in this College of Arts in New England, this very, very prestigious art school. And most of people that are in this art school are very rich, and one of our characters isn't actually fitting that description very well because she is there on a stipend and she worked really hard to get there. It talks a lot about art and art world and how we see art as something that is only for very rich, and how this one's girl that is actually an art collector and she has these amazing pieces of art everywhere in her house, and her parents don't really even look at them the same anymore because there's so many of them. They're just numbers on a paper how much everything cost to them. It's really interesting to see it through different points of view, through a point of view of a professor who is kind of struggling and he wants to be more famous in the art, and then we have these students that are just coming into this world and that are just a girl that is struggling really hard and working really hard, and then a girl that her parents are famous so she can basically do whatever she wants and she will get some kind of applause and she will get galleries full of people who want to look at her art. I thought this book was really atmospheric. It is happening in Manhattan, in New York. I love books that are happening in New York. It definitely gave me summer vibes because of the art in it, and I feel like every time that a book has something to do with art in my mind, that's summer. Summer equals art in my mind for some reason. So I think if you're into literary fiction and if you're into art, read Sirens and Muses, definitely. Now I have something a little bit different. It's a book that I don't really know when the book takes place in, like a time period. It is in 70s, but I don't know if it's during summer. I feel like it's during a whole year, as I remember it, but it is Bright Young Woman by Jessica Knoll. I read it at the beginning of last year, and this one is more of a thriller mystery book, but it is very feminist. And this book is actually inspired by murders of Ted Bundy. This book follows Pamela trying to get justice for some of her friend. In the 70s, she was a sorority president, and one night a man came into their house and he murdered 2 of the girls in it. So she's now trying to get justice for them and trying to fight for them. It follows her and another journalist. This journalist also had some kind of connection with this man because she thinks that her friend was murdered a few years back also by this man, so they are trying to do this together. I love reading about women trying to do right things even though nobody's on their side and then they succeed in it. I feel like summer really gives me it's time for feminism vibes. So I think that if you're into thrillers and if you have not read this one yet and you like feminism, you should definitely read it. I feel like you would love it. It's written very beautifully as well, and although it's kind of hard to read at times because you do not want to read that much about women struggling and how bad it was actually back then, I felt very empowered when I finished this book, definitely. So yeah. Then I have a very, very fun book that was also in my top 10 books of last year. I had so much fun reading this book, and that would be My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This book takes place in the 80s, and we are following 2 best friends. I think they're like 16, 17 years old, and one of them gets possessed. And now the other one needs to kind of cover up for her, and she needs to try to figure out how to exorcise her best friend. Grady Hendrix, every single book that I read from him, I read 3 so far. Every single book follows a woman struggling to get to something and struggling and nobody believes her. And this is one of those, and I really liked it a lot. One thing I loved doing whilst reading this book was definitely listening to the playlist, because this book, every chapter of this book has a name of a song in it. So there is a playlist actually on Spotify that I found, somebody made it, and it has all of those songs by the chapters. So I listened to the playlist last summer. For a whole summer I was listening through the playlist, and every time I hear a song from that playlist I just remember this book. And now I have some older books that I would put under weird literary fiction category, like weird lit-fic books. Well, actually I have a book and an author. The book is The Virgin Suicide by Jeffrey Eugenides. So this book is written from a point of view of these boys that were obsessed when they were in high school with these 5 Lisbon sisters. Lisbon sisters are 5 sisters that have very strict and religious parents, and they aren't allowed to do almost anything. These boys are watching them and they are telling you the story whilst you're in museum of them, of these Lisbon sisters, and you're like looking at an objects that they found from them. They're kind of depressed, they don't really like to live anymore, so they start committing suicides one by one, and you're in the story until the last one commits suicide. And it's written in this, like I said, very peculiar way, because they are like multiple people are telling you the story, so it's always we saw this and we saw this, and they almost know everything about Lisbon sisters, although they are not in their head, but it's like they know how they deteriorated, how they thought in every single moment. It's very interesting. It gave me very summer vibes as well, because I feel like queer lit is really summery genre of books. I feel like if you're ever going to read literary fiction, like weird literary fiction, you should do it during summer. And then I have an author that I have not read that many books of, but I read 2 of her books, and that is Lynne Tillman, another author that I would put under weird literary fiction, but I have 2 of her books actually, and I read them both. I have Haunted House and Weird Fucks. I cannot explain to you why these books give me summery vibes. I just remember these books are plotless. They are about women, both of them. They are character studies, I would say, and I remember there being a lot of sweat. Well, at least I felt that they were really sweaty, and there was like a lot of talk about being hot and being sweaty and being sunny outside. So I feel like these books give perfect summer vibes. And also, they both have naked women on cover, and what is more summer than a woman being naked? I would say. I liked Weird Fox more than I like Haunted House, and it is a smaller book, so maybe you should start with Weird Fox as well. Now that I went through the books that I could recommend to you, I'm going to be telling you about books that I want to read this summer, because there are a lot of them that I really want to get my hands on, and I think I have like 15 of them, so I'm not going to go in depth about any of them because I don't know that much about them. I just know that I really want to read them. The first book that I'm currently reading is Uri by Alexandra Tanner. This is a humoristic literary fiction book about two sisters. One of them is living in New York and the other comes to live with her because she's trying to find a job there. They are both a little bit lost. They kind of hate each other but also love each other at the same time. They have that like sisterly bond. They have a mother who is very peculiar and they don't really agree with her, and she also kind of hates them and loves them at the same time. They all have this toxic relationship. The cover of this book really screamed summer to me because it's stripes and it's fruit. The next one that I have is Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. This one, it has pomegranate on it, so need I explain myself? I don't think so. It follows a girl that is working in Silicon Valley and she hates her job, and there is a black hole following her everywhere, and this black hole is feeding off of her, so she's feeding off her anxiousness and off her depression, so if this girl gets really depressed, this black hole becomes really huge. The next one that I have is Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Horth. This one follows a relationship between two girls during summer. There are a lot of women in my TBR, but it is about a woman who doesn't really want to be traditional. She doesn't want to marry, she doesn't want to have kids, and then she meets this woman during summer, this other girl, and they like each other. They start liking each other very much. Then I have Brutes by Diz Tate. This one is said to be kind of like the Virgin Suicides, but it is from perspective of girls. And these girls are obsessed with another girl whose name is Sammy. And Sammy then disappears. I feel like she disappears somewhere around lake. I don't know why, but I just feel like she does. And then they are trying to figure out what happened to Sammy. Then I have a book that came out this year. I was very excited about. It is Friends at the Museum by Heather McGowan. So this one follows different people working in this New York museum. I think a director and then a cook and then I don't know what. And there is this gala night because it's an annual gala night and somebody is murdered by the end of it. I don't think this book is a thriller. I do think it's literary fiction. I don't know if somebody's actually murdered by the end of the night, I'm not sure. But I'm very excited about this one because it is in the museum. And I love museum. So, yeah. Then I have The Safekeep by Jal van der Wooden. This one was shortlisted for Booker Prize, and I want to get a little more into Booker Prize. And this is another woman queer story. Who would have thought that I have another one of those? It is following a woman living in her childhood home, and then her brother comes with his new girlfriend, and they hate each other, this girlfriend and her. They don't stand each other at all. But then they do. So I think they do because it is a queer book, and I feel like it's the only thing that makes sense, right? So then I have Stoneyard Devotional by Charlotte Hood, another Booker Prize shortlisted book. It's another one about a woman going into her childhood home, I think, as well, but she's alone there and she's struggling with these weird things that keep happening, like one day everything is full of rats and things like that. A book that I heard a lot of people talk about in the last few months, but this book actually came out 3 years ago, is If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Nags. I just know that this is dual POV, that it is about immigration, and one point of view is from a man and another is from a woman. And I heard that audiobook for this book is amazing, so I feel like that could be my audiobook of the summer. I'm very excited to read this one because I really heard so many amazing things about it. I have a classic that I would love to get to. I started reading this book a long time ago, but then I never finished it for some reason. I think I had like only 50 pages left, and I just never finished it. So I want to finish it now, and that would be Lolita by Nabokov. I loved it back then, and I feel like I could really, really love it now, because I'm even more into that genre and I know a little bit more about what books I would love. So I feel like I would love this one. I have a book that's been on my summer reads for the past, I would say, 3 years since I bought it, and that is The Last Supper by Rachel Cusk. You would think that a book about traveling through Italy, a memoir about traveling through Italy, would be a great book to read whilst you are traveling through Italy, but then I never picked it up whilst I was in Italy. I started reading it, I got like 50 pages in 3 years ago when I got it, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to read it during summer. And that was the last time I tried to read it. I hope that this summer is the summer for me to finally embrace this book and finally start reading this book, because I mean, it's really been some time and I am constantly telling myself I will pick it up and then I never do. Then I have a book that I just heard about like a few days ago, and it is called The Dogs of Summer. So it is by Andrea Abreu Lopez and translated by Julia Sanchez. This book follows 10-year-old girls, and I think it's queer, and it's just following them, and they are kind of, one of them is obsessed with another. I love reading books about obsession. That's something that I love to do. I love books that explore characters that are obsessed with something or someone. The only book that I would put under horror category on this list, and that is Chlorine by Jada Song. This one follows another girl, and she is a swimmer and she really loves to swim. She is obsessed with swimming and with the smell of chlorine and with water touching her, and there is nothing that can stop her in doing this, and there are mermaids involved. Those are the books that I would love to read this summer. I feel like all of these books I could see myself just reading. I don't really like going to the beach, but like reading somewhere on a bench, under trees, in a shadow, and whilst sun is glowing. Those are the books that I would love to read this summer, and those are the books that I would recommend you to read this summer. There you guys go. Thank you for watching this video. And if you have any recommendations for summer reads, a book that I have not mentioned or something, I love hearing recommendations from you guys. I really, really like them, and I always put those books on my TBR. If you have any, please recommend them in the comments. I always go through them. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!